For many people, drawing and illustrating are nothing more than a hobby, but for Darren, it's a passion that's driven his entire life's work. Today, he shares a bit of that with us.
I became a comic book artist and a magician because, like every other kid, I loved looking at comic books, I loved horror movies, I loved science fiction, and everybody eventually grows up, but I had the tenacity that I didn't. And it's not that they're not still interested in that kind of thing, but they realize that there's no money to be made in it. You know, I've lived my entire life with 10 cents in my back pocket, but I've never compromised what I love to do. You know, I've never stopped doing that. What I would normally do is, you know, we'll say we have the light source here. So the light source, you have a lamp that's coming down. So I've studied anatomy my whole life, so I don't have to use reference for any of this. I can kind of go on autopilot. I can just draw this figure out. And so now what I'll do is, okay, so the light is coming from on top, so obviously all the heavy, darker areas are going to be at the bottom. So then I'll go in with my heavy brush, and this is the opposite that a lot of art places that they tell you to do. Normally what you want to do is you want to start light and go darker. I do the opposite. I lay down the heavy blacks first. It just, for me, it makes it feel like a good brunt of the work is done. And when I spot my blacks in that way, I know where the heavy areas are. So if I define the rib cage here, and there's his abs, I don't draw the top of the abs because there's no light there, or sorry, there is light there. And the detail only comes in the darker areas. That's basic chiaroscuro is the expression for that. So I'll draw the bottom of everything, never the top, but the heavy, heavy blacks at the bottom of everything. And then that actually helps define the musculature. So you lay in all your super heavy blacks here, maybe under his belt. And that alone, where it looks like super sketchy and super fast, and again the brow and the nose would have shadows under them because they stick out over the face. Well, that's where my shadows will lie, and now I'm going to go in with my small marker and really sort of just fill in and do all the little hatchings and details elsewhere. This great comic book artist, Yannick Paquette, who lives in Montreal, he was the artist on Batman for years, and he told me, he said, "You're an alien from another planet and you've never seen other people. So if I was to draw a portrait of somebody looking this way, as far as I know, that person only has one eyeball. Now, me as a person, I know that they have two, and the only reason I see one is because you're seeing it in profile. But you have to get rid of that. That's your ego talking. You don't know that he has two eyes. You only see one. That's all that exists. So as an alien from another planet, I see a human being, and I can draw a nose and a mouth, and here's the eyes and the brow. And if I did this person in profile, I'll just do a quick sort of profile sketch here, where this is the nose, that's your lip, that's the chin, your eyeball is inset, and frown him here because it's a comic book. So, and then there's the cheekbone, which is a very solid structure. And now I know if I was to draw a line off of this, and the problem with me is I start working on these things, I can do them forever, but if I was to draw a little dotted line here, you can see that the nose protrudes more than the brow, that the top lip protrudes more than the bottom lip, and that the chin is about even. And so that way I know the perspective of the person. But if I'm drawing in profile, front profile, the only way to know that that nose sticks out more than any other part of the face is by putting a deep shadow underneath it, especially if the light's coming from here. So a deep shadow under the nose and a tiny shadow under the eyes, because the eyes are inset, they don't come all the way out, so they're not going to really catch the light, not going to cast that deep of a shadow. And put a shadow underneath the bottom lip to know that it's not just on the face, but it actually comes out, it has its own dimension, its own proportion. So that's drawing 101 when any type of art. You know, painting, illustration, comic book art, anything, it's all really the same. But this is, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 finished drawings. I'm really a fervent supporter of comics when I say comic book illustrators are the best illustrators on the planet. Not this one, but in general. And you know, back before the camera, everything, every kind of art form, every kind of sign, every kind of poster was all done by hand. And now we've lost that. And the only real, true grit of the illustrator and the artist and the creative person, one of the last bastions for them is comic books, because you're creating these worlds by yourself, and the strength of it rises or falls on your own ability as a creative person.
As we delve deeper into the digital age, it's important to support and maintain art forms such as comic book production so that they don't get lost and forgotten. Tune in next time when Darren talks about his personal works, Crimson and the Hammer of Thor. Reporting for Shaw TV, I'm Christian LeMay.